Hello Internet, welcome back to our Cataclysm tutorial series. We are probably going to be doing some vehicle work today, I think. So we're going to be talking a lot about vehicles. Now what I was thinking is that we have an NPC here, and I believe if you have NPCs you can set a zone for them to deconstruct a vehicle. We're probably not going to be using this car ever again. So what I thought is we could drive this over here. It's a beetle. I didn't even notice that. So let's just drive this over here and see if we can stick our NPC on it. I don't know if it works for just static NPCs. What is this purple blotch? Probably some fluid we dumped out or something. The weight of the beetle destroys the chunk of mutant fat. Yeah, we don't care about that. So we'll go ahead and park this here. Stop driving. And we'll mark a zone for vehicle we already have. So I'm curious if he will. If we talk to you, no, I'll get it later. We can't do anything. We would have to bring him with us. I don't really want to do that. I think this. So there's a thing in the game that lets you add a vehicle deconstruction zone, and then you would park the vehicle there, and the NPCs would deconstruct it. Now, I don't know if this guy by himself is going to do that. Normally what happens, why are you wielding a cudgel? I gave you so many spears. Maybe he broke his spear. I don't know if it will work with a single NPC. I believe it might only work with a faction base, which is where you set up for a lot of NPCs to live, basically. Then they would deconstruct it. But I thought we would set it and park it here, and if he comes over and starts working on it, that'll be a nice surprise. So we want to do that. So we're probably going to talk a lot about vehicle construction, just general tidbits about what I look for and what I normally set up. Jeez, where to start? Okay, so we have a Humvee. A Humvee is a good starter vehicle for a couple reasons. Number one, it's 3 tiles wide in the interior. That's something I like. A lot of vehicles are 2 tiles wide, like this car here. I really prefer having a 3 tile wide vehicle, so if we were starting from this beetle, we would have to extend the body of this vehicle all the way over here, which would involve taking apart everything here and pulling it over, essentially, to make the vehicle bigger. So 3 tiles wide in the back is a good start. Number 2, it has a reinforced windshield, which is not super relevant, but it's nice to have. There are heavy-duty frames on this vehicle. There are a couple different frames in the game. If we come to the Beetle, it's probably extra light frames or light frames or whatever they're called. No, they're just regular frames. We can see this here. They're regular frames. If we look at the Humvee, they're actually heavy-duty frames. In general, this doesn't matter too much. I know a lot of people will tell you that it matters, but really vehicles are pretty durable to begin with. So having a vehicle made entirely of heavy-duty frames is almost a liability in my opinion because it adds so much weight to the vehicle, but they are more durable, so we're not going to take apart the whole vehicle and replace the frames. Just something to be aware of because the weight of this vehicle is going to become an issue later on, because if we wanted to make this a truly solar vehicle that uses only electric power, that's a problem when we have a very heavy vehicle because electric motors struggle a bit to move such heavy vehicles. So the heavy-duty frames, a lot of people would view as a huge benefit. I actually don't really care. I'm fine with having regular frames most of the time. If I was going to create a vehicle from scratch, I would make the front heavy-duty frames and then the remainder of the vehicle light frames, or regular frames rather, because I just don't care that much. And because vehicles are more durable than you think they are. If we, for instance, if we drove up to where there's a horde, at this stage of the game and we closed all of our doors and we just sat here, it's going to take them a really long time to break down the door and get access to us. It's very durable. Even if we start ramming enemies, we're not going to break chunks off of our vehicle very easily. So I don't think that that's a huge concern. And we could do that also with the regular little vehicle over here. They might be able to come in the windshield pretty easily. But for the most part, most of these body parts are not going to get destroyed and give them access to us very quickly. The frames are not the only factor. Frames are more of an issue when you're actually ramming things. Armor and the various different types of parts are what matter really there. So if we look at this door, it's a heavy-duty door, which means it's more resilient to that kind of enemies trying to break their way in. And that's the gist of what I'm talking about, is that this vehicle is built to be resilient. So between the heavy-duty frames, and we also have armor plating, which is nice. If we look here, we have military composite armor plating. This is probably the most common armor you're going to see because it's the one that spawns pre-generated on military vehicles. It's not the easiest one to get. If you can find a vehicle, we've seen 2 or 3 Humvees and other vehicles that use the military composite at this point. So it's something we could have sourced pretty easily. If you were trying to make armor from scratch, you would be making probably... there's no good frame to show it. Let's look at this vehicle and we'll look at armor. Since there's already armor on the Humvee, we can't see the armor in the install menu. No, we go plating. You'll see there's quite a few different armor platings in the game. I can never say this. Biosilicified, chitin plating, bone plating, chitin plating, hard plating, composite armor, spiked plating, steel plating, super alloy plating. So the ones you're going to see the most, military composite, because it spawns on vehicles already. The ones you're going to make yourself the most is probably going to be steel plating or hard plating. Both of these only require metal really to make. So if we look for plating, I don't know if we have the recipes. We can make steel plating. For some reason we can't make hard plating. I believe hard plating is just more lumps of steel, so it's something that is makeable. All the other platings are a little bit specialized. You know, if you have a lot of chitin, you can probably make some chitin plating. But why would you do that when metal is infinitely more discoverable and chitin is weaker than the metal? Since you just harvest parts off of other vehicles, make the spiked or hard plating or steel plating or whatever. All of those are superior to the chitin plating. Chitin plating is going to require you to make chitin armor kits, which requires lots of chitin. And you got to figure for every one that you make, it only fixes one tile on your vehicle. So it turns into this game of like, you have to have a lot of materials. Same thing goes with bone. Even though bone is pretty common, you can't use tainted bone, I don't think, which is what you get from zombies. So you're relying on killing animals to get these bones or humans to get these bones. Biosilicified chitin is a special chitin. I believe it's from the acid ants, I think, is the only place you get this. Don't quote me on that. I could very well be wrong. And then super alloy plating is just never going to happen. You're going to find, throughout the course of your game, you're going to find very few super alloy sheets. And super alloy in general is incredibly rare and uncommon. So for you to think that, oh, you're going to plate your whole vehicle using this is ridiculous. You're never going to be able to do that. And then additionally, if we look here, the durability is only 600, but I can make hard plating and it's 780. You know, is stronger than something that is like the super advanced material. So not really something to worry about. But anyway, didn't mean to go on a tangent about that. So this vehicle came with military composite, which is nice. As far as I know, any tile that has a frame on it can be reinforced with those platings that we just talked about, and they just make it a little bit more durable. I am not sure how that works. I had been told previously that armor would get damaged before the pieces on that tile, but that's not correct, because sometimes you will find, as you're driving, you'll have a fully repaired piece of composite armor, but your other parts will be damaged. So it doesn't look like it prioritizes plating. It may prioritize plating over damaging the frame. I'm not sure how that works. But in general, armor plating makes your vehicle more durable. It's a good thing to have. And again, weight can be an issue here depending on the kind of plating that you use. Military, it's already on this vehicle. We're not going to take it off. If you have a limited supply of armor, I recommend armoring the front of your vehicle, particularly on tiles where something valuable is. So like if we have our engine right here, and we only have a few pieces of armor, we might as well armor this tile just to insulate the engine and other valuable components a little bit more. Same thing, if I have like 5 or 6 armor, I'll put one like say over my recharging station. I'll put one over like if I have a tools pile, that's like the most important part of the, you know, my storage in the vehicle. I'll put one there. I'll put one over the welder or whatever. So just prioritize the valuable tiles. But in general, again, you want to reinforce the front because that's where, if you're ramming enemies, that's where the majority of damage on your vehicle is going to be. We have heavy-duty doors, so there's really no reason to replace them other than the fact that they're not opaque. So the other thing that I like to do, this vehicle is a little bit chonky. It's, again, 5 tiles wide, 3 interior, which is great, but it's a little short. From seat to rear is only 2 or 3 tiles. I would like to extend this probably another 3 or 4, probably another 3 tiles back here, so that we can start putting important things in this vehicle. The things I personally look for in a vehicle, I want all of the doors and these quarter panels to be replaced with something that can't be seen through. That way, when we're in the interior, we cannot see out of the vehicle. You'll see these are already boards, and boards cannot be seen through. So you'll see we have this vision block here, which indicates we can't see through them. However, these doors can be seen through. Sorry, there's a very loud truck nearby. These doors can be seen through, so I would like to take the doors off and replace them with something that can't be seen through. This way we can put a bed back here. We can put curtains on our windshield, shut our windshield, shut our doors, and we will be completely insulated from the outside world, vision-wise. And that's very important, because if we put a bed back here, we don't want to wake up to an enemy that's been pounding on our door. If they never see us, they're not going to come pound. Now, in general, you're going to park and sleep in safe places anyway, so it's not like you're going to be exposed to giant hordes. But it's usually a good rule of thumb to block this off, just to prevent anything from being able to get at you. Other modifications, we would like to remove the trunks, because the trunks only contain 162 liters. We want to put cargo spaces in there, which can contain 250 liters, so more than double the capacity of the trunk. Just in general, I prefer the cargo spaces. I believe they're the largest cargo type storage item in the vanilla version of Cataclysm. I know some other mods give pretty substantial, huge cargo spaces, but I don't play with most mods, and we're doing a tutorial about vanilla Cataclysm. So we're going to want to pull these out, replace them with cargo spaces. Again, we're going to expand the vehicle, so we'll end up having like 5 or 6 of these pretty beefy cargo spaces in the rear of the vehicle. We want to put a bed in it, preferably somewhere in the back as well. We're going to want eventually probably a mobile forge. We're going to put a welding station in here for sure. What else? The recharging station, we already have one. It came with the vehicle, which is really nice, because they can be a bit difficult to craft if you don't have the electronics materials that you need, or if you can't find the recipe. So finding a recharger is often a hurdle that we have in this game. Although I'm seeing more and more vehicles that come with them pre-generated, like this Humvee. We saw we saw a limousine up there somewhere as well that had a recharging station in it, which I think is a really neat thing that was added. Obviously for people to charge their phones while they're riding in a limo. Pretty neat little idea. Probably going to pull some of these seats out. If you have NPCs, you're going to want a seat per NPC. That way they can ride with you. I don't think they can stand up in the vehicle. I think they need to sit down, otherwise they'll collide with the vehicle. That's not correct. I don't know if they need a seat, but in general you should have a seat per NPC. But I really don't need these extra seats taking up space. If we met more NPCs, we could easily replace these seats. So we'll probably pull those out and replace them with something as well. I don't see any reason to mess with the front of the vehicle. This heavy-duty frame and military composite armor, this is just functioning something like a ram at the moment. We would kind of like to replace that, I think, with a proper ram. If we go examine the vehicle and we go to a tile that's not actually part of the vehicle yet, and we go to install, rams should be listed here. And you'll see they can be made of the same materials that armor is made from. So if you found the Humvee and you were struggling to make a ram, you could pull military composite armor off of some of the less valuable places and then make a ram. Problem is it requires Mechanics 6, which we don't have, so we would probably just make steel rams, or maybe there is no hard ram, hard steel ram, so that's interesting. We can make spiked plating though, and use that as a ram. So the frame with military armor is fine as a ram, but I think actually putting a ram on it, do they deal additional damage? I'm not sure how, but I know everyone puts rams on their vehicles, so I'm sure there's a reason for it. Durability, it looks like it's, oh, there we do have a damage multiplier, yeah. So depending on what you put here, you'll have an increased damage multiplier when you hit enemies. So that's obviously more desirable than not having a multiplier. If we could get a 200% damage multiplier, that's pretty substantial. I'm assuming it's just a flat multiplier because it's listed as a percentage. But regardless, we would like to put a RAM on it. We could just pull these off, honestly. They're not benefiting us in any way. So I don't see any reason to keep these frames and military armor. So we'll probably pull these off, and then we'll keep the armor, but we'll put a RAM on it instead. Other things, we will want to repair a lot of these components, mostly the important ones. So like this tank of gasoline, we would love to repair that. In case it would get damaged and destroyed, would be terrible because we would run out of fuel. Nothing else there jumps out at me. I'd like to repair the engine. The damage on your engine. Oh, it's already repaired. If your engine is damaged, it outputs less power. So in general, it's good to keep that fully repaired. Not sure how easy it is to repair batteries. Just requires a welder, no big deal. Which is weird because it's probably not something you would want to weld, but that's okay. Don't weld batteries, kids. But other than that, there's really nothing that jumps out at me. This other tank is busted. We can just take that off. There's no reason to worry about that. You want to keep frames mostly repaired, depending on where they are. So like frames, I'm not sure how it works currently. Previously in the game, if a frame was destroyed, you would lose every other component on that tile. So in general, I try to repair them. I don't think it works that way anymore. I think that in order for the frame to be completely damaged, the components get damaged as well. So it would be like you would have time to be aware that your frame is being damaged. But I'm not 100% on that, so I usually try to keep them as repaired as possible, particularly on important tiles. So like again, where our recharger is, we want to make sure that that frame stays in good condition. Where our engine is, we would like that frame to stay in good condition. What other vehicle pointers do I have for you? You can sleep in a seat if you need to. I believe it counts as comfortable. You can actually install a reclining seat, which is better for sleeping. But I prefer to put a proper bed in the vehicle because I like to think, vaguely role play. So I like to think that my character has a proper place to sleep and is not just like roughing it in a vehicle. So our welder's probably in the rear of our vehicle. Actually not sure. I think Fraser's back here at least. Faulty engine. Oh, we brought the V12 with us. We have the medium battery. So we must have dropped our welder inside. We're going to need all of our tools that we normally carry for weld. Nothing. Okay, must be over here. Weld. We're going to need the tools that we normally would have. That currently means the toolbox. Since we found a toolbox, we're in a good position there. The problem with this vehicle work is that we only have one medium battery. So what I would normally do is have 2 or 3 medium batteries. I would do work. I would drop all of them into the recharger, take one, recharge, put it in the welder, use the welder. Then by the time it's done installing a couple parts, I will take out the battery, drop it in the recharger, take a fully charged battery, replace it, work on the vehicle, and just keep swapping them out. Since we have one, we can't work while we're recharging, so that's going to slow us down a little bit. Let's go ahead and reload the welder. So that's going to be really problematic as we start to do major body work. Since these are boards, why don't we pull off the doors first here? And we're going to harvest materials from this vehicle. Again, since we're not going to be driving it, we're going to be pulling most of the materials off of here. So let's just start by popping these doors off. Just pull off all the doors. Vehicle work is one of the most time-consuming things that you will do in Cataclysm, both in real time and in-game time. Time will pass very quickly. You'll see it's already nightfall, so I don't think we can pull another door. We actually can. Normally, you can't do vehicle work in the dark. Pull off the door. It appears that it's another bright night, so we actually can continue vehicle working through the night, which is really nice. You don't often have that ability. So you'll see this gave us heavy duty frames. Doors are just made from frames. Rather than making, well, we could just install heavy doors again. but I don't like the extra weight. You'll see it's 220 pounds, and we would be looking for the hatch here, because this is a door, but it's also opaque. We're looking for something that is opaque, that way we can't see through it. This can be difficult when driving. Some people don't like having the full blocked off vision in the rear here. I actually don't mind very much. I find that if I'm having an issue, I'll just pop the doors open and the rear open so I can see behind and to the sides. But yeah, I usually put opaque stuff everywhere. So 220 pounds, you figure for the 4 doors, that adds up to be quite a lot of weight. What we could do is, instead of putting 4 doors on it, we could just put 2 doors and replace these rear sections with boards instead of having 4 doors up front here, which I think we will do. Just to cut a little bit of weight, you'll see that will cut 500 pounds from the vehicle. That's pretty substantial. Go ahead and put a hatch here. Let's see what that looks like. I don't know that I've seen the hatch before. And again, taking a long time. Most of this stuff does not require welding. Like the removal of the doors did not require welding. Let's look at the hatch. Oh, I actually don't like that because it doesn't look like a door, which makes sense. It's a hatch, but I don't love that. Whatever, it'll be fine. You know, if you're super worried about aesthetics, that can be definitely an issue. This does require the welder, my mistake. I don't know why we're welding a door. I guess because we're making it from scratch. It starts out as a frame. It's not like it starts out as a pre-manufactured door. So I guess that makes sense. I need to replace... I'm just debating in real life if I want to replace my car door or not. Currently, the handle is broken, so you can't pull it properly. It requires, like, you have to angle it just right to get it to open. And my family members can't actually open the dang thing. So that's one problem. Then we're going to pull... What do you need for boards? Is it just it's sheet metal, right? Install board. Yep, sheet metal. And then the heavy duty board is steel plating. Okay. So what we could do is pull these boards off, replace them with regular boards. It will give us steel plating, which we could then use to make our RAM. I don't know. Let's not do that right now. Let's just harvest some sheet metal. We'll think about that. Oh, this vehicle's a little small. There's not really as many quarter panels as I would like. Quarter panels will give us sheet metal. We can also get sheet metal pretty easily. We spent a lot of time smashing furniture. So like in the shelving units that we smashed, I believe right here or in the garage, they will give sheet metal. So if we were really hurting, we could go harvest this from around. I just would prefer to take it from the vehicle since it's right here. So my handle's broken. Then the window has stopped working. It's an electric window. So now I have to put it up and down with my hands. It slipped out of the track and the motor's grinding really bad. So I think the whole window motor needs replaced, which it goes to the mechanic tomorrow to get that taken care of. When you add certain parts to the vehicle, it will prompt you on a shape that you want to use. This is purely aesthetic. This does not actually matter. In general, I will try to match shapes. So if I'm putting down frames for a vehicle, I'll just use pluses. But when you get to the front of the vehicle and you're putting like quarter panels on, this will determine whether it displays headlights in your screen. The headlights will still be there, but the way that they connect is what determines whether the sprite will display a headlight. So if you want things to look the best, always angle at the corners like this and then put the middle sections as straight, flat sections. Since we're making a board and it's purely a vertical pipe, we're going to just select that so that it looks okay. Yeah, so the window is busted, the handle is busted, and then the door sensor has been going off for about 2 months at all times. We want a board and vertical. Yeah, the door sensor has been going off for every moment that I'm in the car, basically for 2 months, so it's just constantly buzzing. And it's infuriating. So I thought, why not just replace the whole damn door, since it's all three things are wrong with the same door. But I don't know that it would actually fix the door sensor, so that's why I didn't pull the trigger on that. So we now, as we can see, we can no longer see through this whole side of the vehicle, which is great. Putting curtains on our windshield will just require sheets, so we can pretty easily do that. We're going to want to pull these doors off as well and make those opaque doors. Probably also will just be hatches, because I don't know what else to do. But we're not just going to put them back here. What we're going to do is extend the vehicle a few extra tiles. This is going to require frames for the actual framework of the vehicle. Remember, everything in general will need a frame to start with. There are exceptions to this, like external tanks and external cargo spaces, as well as rams do not require you to have a frame. But everything else in the game is going to require a foundation of frames when you do vehicle work. So we're going to want to put, what is this, 5 by 3? We're going to need 15 frames to make this happen. Which is substantial. There aren't even 15 frames on this vehicle. Actually, there are 16 frames, but still, we're going to need to source some additional frames. We may head up north to do that, where we had that cluster of vehicles. I think we even pulled some frames off already. So we'll head up there tomorrow. What can we do right now? We could take the rear doors off, but there's really no reason to do so. Well, yes, sure there is. Let's eat and drink something. We're getting towards the 30-minute mark as well, unfortunately. Again, vehicle work, very time consuming, is absolutely going to take up a lot of our time. Let's pop another MRE since we have so many, and I feel like eating something that's like good, you know. Hash browns and bacon, that sounds amazing. I would absolutely murder someone with my bare hands right now for some hash browns and bacon. Okay, maybe not, but you know what I'm saying. We'll take the accessory pack and the dessert pack apart as well. We'll have ourselves a nice meal here. 320 calories from hash browns and bacon. I love breakfast foods. We eat the cracker, we eat a little cookie, chocolate bar, candy. We'll eat all of this. So there we got what? I don't know, 700 calories. Not actually that much. Used to be MREs contained considerably more than that. And it's one of those changes that I think is a good change, because they made it so that soldier zombies drop tons of MREs. They're a lot more common now. So I think from a balance perspective, it makes a lot of sense. But from a realism perspective, it really doesn't. Most MREs are full calorie kits. So like the way I think about it is that this is not actually a full day's ration. It's just an MRE pack. That like if you were a soldier and you were getting MREs, you would get like 3 a day, right? For 3 separate meals. So like the 3 of those combined would make your daily amount of calories. But if you took them individually, like let's say we just had an entree pack for lunch, instead of like the full pack of all 3, we would not get enough daily calories to survive. So I think a lot of people, myself included, when they think of rations, they think of a complete day's worth of calorie content. But that's actually not usually the case. They usually are broken down into meals, which are much smaller calorie counts. And then together they make 1 day's worth of calories. So I think it's an interesting change. I think it was a good decision from a balance perspective. I was really happy to see that. No, don't stop. I bumped the button by mistake. Although I saw a lot of people give pushback, and I at first thought like, well, it doesn't make sense. There's so many calories. It's a MRE. That should be from the prison. Okay, northeast and below. I was going to say, it would be really unlikely that a robot would meander over here and decide that it's going to call us a hostile and give us some trouble. More heavy-duty frames. Again, we're going to try to avoid using heavy-duty frames because of the weight they add to the vehicle. If we look at the vehicle, you'll see we have shed, well, we were over 15,000 pounds, right? So just the little bits that we've taken off and changed, we have lost 4,000 pounds from our vehicle. That is substantial amounts of weight, and we kind of would like to keep that from weighing down our vehicle. How much does the plating itself weigh? Because I could pop the plating. Oh. Why don't you have... The doors never had plating. They were just heavy-duty doors. Let's look at the boards. How much heavy duty plating? Doesn't say how much it weighs. It would say if we tried to install it. Let's go up to install comp. It weighs 36 pounds. That's actually not that much. I'm not super concerned about that. I would like to take these boards off and replace them with regular boards. Okay, well, we have a lot on our plate as it is with this vehicle work. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it right now. We're tired, and we got quite injured while we were exploring the town, so we're going to take some time to heal ourselves up. I really should take some time to read first aid books. It's just we've had stuff to do, basically, the whole time we've been playing. We haven't really spent very much time reading books. I try to avoid that in my Let's Plays because I know that's a boring aspect of Cataclysm is sitting around reading. People don't like watching you stand still for the whole episode. So we're looking for boiled makeshift. We only have a couple here. Why don't we boil some more bandages? You've seen me do this before. Again, fact of life, it is just something you have to do in Cataclysm is maintain this kind of stuff. So let's make some makeshift bandages. Again, in portions of 6. Yeah, you'll find yourself doing this kind of stuff a lot where you end up making the same items over and over because they're necessary. Looks like we are out of water. Yeah, so we'll grab our jug here. We'll fill them both, why not? We're wielding some bandages. Hopefully we don't get into combat. Go ahead and pour these into our gallon jugs. We'll take these back. This is why it's good to have a couple jugs laying around at all times so you can quickly do stuff like that. You don't have to spend time trying to figure out which jug to take. And, what do I do here? Boiled makeshift. Apparently we had some extra makeshift bandages laying around. Let's boil these quickly. Okay, apply our... Let's, you know what? We're going to be doing vehicle work. So this is what I was talking about when we talked in our medical video about knowing when to prioritize using antiseptic. Even though we're pretty damaged and we would like to recover, we're probably going to spend the next 2 days minimally working on our vehicle, at least tomorrow. So even if we don't antiseptic, we're going to get like 2 days of healing on our limbs before we're really ready to go back out and fight again. So it doesn't really matter if we apply antiseptic because we're going to heal over time anyway. So I'm just going to apply these boiled makeshift bandages. I don't see any reason to really go all in. We're going to bandage the worst ones first, hoping maybe we would level up our first aid, but we didn't. We did get experience, but not enough to level up. Oh, I think I was using the wrong bandages as well. Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. Boiled makeshift. Okay. Put the fire out, and we'll head to bed here. Someone told me in a comment that I should move the rotten eggs into the bathroom because if I keep them out here, they will peck me to death while I'm sleeping. Now, I'm reasonably sure that person was kidding, but I also don't want to be pecked to death by chickens. That would be a really embarrassing way to die. So we're going to pop those in there. And you know what? I will sleep between episodes because we should call the episode. So for now, and it's boring and no one wants to watch it. So for now, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this discussion about vehicle parts. We will, in the next episode, continue building our vehicle out, and we're going to install cargo spaces and a bed at the bare minimum, because when we go to the lab, we're going to want a lot of space in our vehicle for loot, and we're going to want a safe place to sleep. We can sleep inside of the lab, but we would really prefer to be able to sleep in our vehicle where we know we are safe. I just would prefer that. Most likely in the game, it would make no difference. A lot of times there are beds right inside the building where you can sleep on that main floor and be completely safe. But in my head, I just think if I were doing this in real life, I would sleep in my car. I would not sleep in an unknown science base where God knows what could happen. So just for roleplay reasons, I'm going to bare minimum put a bed in the vehicle. So for now, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. I'll be back with more Cataclysm tutorial content in the near future, and I will see you next time.